Let's, of course, start with Donald Trump. Wasting no time, as you would expect, calling the latest indictment against him, quote, unprecedented. And his campaign claiming, in its words, the Biden crime family and Department of Justice interfered with the 2024 election. But we start tonight with the incoming reaction to the indictment from the Republican candidates hoping to unseat Trump in the Republican primary. Watch.
The reality is a Republican, a D.C. jury would indict a ham sandwich and convict a ham sandwich if it was a Republican ham sandwich.
Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. And anyone who asks someone else to put themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States again.
All right. You saw Ron DeSantis there. You saw Mike Pence there. Clearly, David, two different figures, because Mike Pence was a central figure on January 6th and the events leading up to it. Ron DeSantis is the leading challenger to Donald Trump. Take your crack. Who you want to start with in their reaction there?
Well, let's start with Mike Pence.
Okay.
All right. Mike Pence trails in polls. He's not yet qualified for the debate with fundraising thresholds. He has with polling. I think his campaign thinks it's going to get there. They're pretty confident. That's what they say. But I think what you see with Mike Pence is a candidate that is owning his story and at least doing one thing. You know, if you're running against somebody for president of the United States and they get indicted on allegations of criminal activity, the thing you might want to do is hit him over the head with it. Right. I can tell you who would hit any of his competitors over the head with a federal indictment if it happened to them and not him, and that's Donald Trump. Because he understands that the way you win a primary, the way you win an election, is to take every potential flaw, even make a few up, but definitely take the ones that are real, and you hit your opponent over the head. And I think one of the challenges Ron DeSantis is having now to move over to the Florida governor is that he can't seem to decide what he's going to criticize the former president for and what he's not. I understand that a lot of Republican primary voters are very upset with the indictments. They think Trump is being unfairly targeted and persecuted by the legal system. But if Trump is telling you that these indictments are all a fraud and it's not fair, there's no way you're going to overcome him in a race for the nomination if you're like, you're right, that poor guy over there is just getting nailed. Why should they vote for you if that's what you're going to do?
I was going to pick up exactly on that point. So that was actually one of the sharper criticisms that we've heard from Mike Pence over that specific issue. And we've heard him a couple times criticize Donald Trump as far as January 6th goes, but for him to say that you shouldn't be president of the United States, if that's the case, that went a little bit further than he had in the past. But even at that point, he didn't say Donald Trump should not be president of the United States. That's not exactly what. No. He didn't. He did not say that even in that case. And if you are running for president of the United States in this GOP primary, you have to start explaining at a certain point why it should be you instead of the other guy. If you think that this is unfair to him, if you think that he was a good president, if you agree with him on a lot of the issues, then what is the argument that you are making to Republican primary voters as to why?
What would the two attorneys say? Because I think the two attorneys might have an opinion in this one.
Well, look, I appreciate the commentary, but the laws of political gravity have been suspended in this race in the Republican primary. Donald Trump is a real force in the party now. He controls a lot of the apparatus, a lot of the base, as we saw in the New York Times poll, across demographics, regardless of whether he continues to get indicted, has said they're going to stick with him. Right. I mean, upwards of 71%. The issue for the other candidates is that Trump is now over 50% nationally, and in a lot of the states that count, he's still over 50%. So their whole strategy has to be, how do I get 50% plus one delegates for next August in order to get the nomination? They're not going to get it.
Yeah, but to get that and to do what David said to do, hit him over the head with it, you have to be fearless. You can't be afraid. And every GOP presidential candidate is afraid of losing the MAGA support if Trump gets indicted or he gets out of the race. You got to go through Donald Trump, as you say. You can't go around him, and they are afraid of attacking him.
Let me tell you the problem with this. It's not that I'm saying, oh, this will work. Why don't they just do the obvious? It's so obviously going to work. I don't know if it's going to work, but one of the reasons Trump connects with his voting base and with Republican voters so much is because he's a fighter. They see in him the ultimate fighter, and even though they might say, wow, it's so nice of Ron DeSantis or Vivek Ramaswamy or name your Republican candidate to stick up for Trump as the Biden DOJ, as, and all the rhetoric, it's so nice of them. What it communicates to them is they're not as much of a fighter as Trump.
Correct.
And therefore, they're not going to gain any traction. You might as well go down swinging because you have a better chance of the unusual happening than the way they're doing it.
All right. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.